Okay, it's Saturday morning. I've got all my spices assembled. I know you know, and I know, briskets are really hard to cook, and you have to have just the right amount of spices in the right proportions to do it right. So I've assembled all this out here so you can see it, and I've also bought a mortar and pestle so I can kind of blend all this stuff together and put it on a big piece of USDA prime brisket so you can watch me cook it. So I'm going to move the other side of the camera so you can look. I'll tell you what, this is really kind of an intimidating array of stuff. I really just, you know, when you watch people do it online or they say this or they say that, I'm like, wow, I don't think I can do that. It's just too hard. And you know what? I agree with you, but when I bought my mortar and pestle, the pestle, which is this part, has a special talent. You actually add these spices in and you mix them in here and mix them in here and mix them in here. And when it's all done the way you want it, you're done. However, this thing has magic. And the magic is you just need these two ingredients. Fresh ground pepper, kosher salt. That's all you need to do a brisket that you'll be very proud of. Good morning, folks. It's Saturday morning, very early. This is our project today. This is a USDA prime brisket. I'm going to trim it up, clean it up, and cook it for you on the big pit. This is a beautiful piece of meat. Whenever you get the USDA prime, it'll have the stripe along the back, and that tells you it's USDA prime. Remember, only 2% of beef is USDA prime. This one's actually got a lot of marbling in it. Nice big point. As you remember, briskets are two pieces actually. There's a flat and the point. The point is usually the most tender. The flat, not so much, but if you cook it right like we're going to do, this flat, which is on this particular one, is very thick. It's a very nice piece of meat. It's going to come out really beautiful. Okay, I've got our brisket all cleaned. This is the tougher side to trim, so I'm going to do it first. I like to do the more difficult parts first to get them out of the way so I don't have to mess with them later. What we're going to try to do is get a lot of this big fat off here. This is not going to render well, and we don't want it on our meat. We're going to leave it probably about 1/4 inch thick and trim it very carefully until we just get close enough. And all this big stuff like this we're going to get rid of. This is not stuff you want to eat anyway. This is really a filleting or boning knife, and it works very well. It's extremely sharp. It cuts right through all this fat that we don't want, and then we're going to trim it down and make it nice and smooth so the air can flow over it like we want to. And then we're just going to kind of carefully trim a little bit at a time till we get right where we want it to be. This is the part I don't, it takes a little bit of time. It's not really that hard to do, but I'm really careful about it because I don't want to cut anything away that I want to cook. So we just want to trim it lightly and carefully. So you can watch while I do that. When you buy USDA prime like this, you're really not going to have a whole lot of trimming to do. I'm just going to go make sure I don't have a lot of ugly stuff on there that I don't want to eat. And I'm going to trim it down to that and get it ready so we can season it. If you remember, I showed you all the elaborate seasonings we have. Just really going to put salt and pepper on this. I might put a little Louisiana hot sauce on it to make the rub stick, but other than that, that's about it. We don't put any large amounts of seasoning on it. See, this stuff's already pretty much trimmed. And this fat cap's not going to hurt anything anyway. You might even want to leave a lot of it on there. There's certain parts of it, like this waxy looking stuff, that might not render down, but in our big pit, when it's cooked right, it actually renders pretty well. So we don't want to leave any sharp edges that will interrupt our airflow. and that's part of the thing I was talking about, aerodynamics. This is fine. This layer of fat right here is just about what you want. I'm just really kind of prettying it up a little bit, and the other side is going to be a lot easier to do, but even this side was really not bad at all. The other side, there's like nothing to do to it, so I'm going to trim this piece off. We're not going to want to eat that, because that's a real big piece of very hard fat that just, it does not render down at all. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is fine. There's nothing else to do to this part. I'm going to get our seasoning started, and I am going to get it ready to put on the grill. There we go. There. That's about all the trimming I'm going to do on this thing. So I'm going to come right back, and I am going to season it. I've already seasoned the other side of this. This is all trimmed. This is as trimmed as I want to get it. There's a couple little fat pockets in there, but those are going to render down nicely. It's got a nice layer on the top. It's got really nice marbling in it. A lot of times when you cook a brisket like this, even not like, for example, like a choice or a select, you're going to want to really take note of which way this grain runs. As you know, on a big full packer brisket like this, the grain runs this way. So if you want to cut it, you want to cut it this way. And then when you get about here to the point, if you see the grain changes, so instead of going this way to cut it, you go this way, because this grain goes this way, this grain goes this way, then it kind of changes, and then you want to go like this. So you go this way and that way. But if we cook this right, it won't matter how we cut it, because it's all going to be good. So I'm going to use our real elaborate rub of salt and pepper. I'm going to finish doing this side of it. I've already done the other side. And then all we're going to do after this is wait for the grill to get up to temp. This will just sit here and kind of melt into the meat a bit, and then we'll put it on the big pit and cook it. And I think you'll be really pleased with the results. I really appreciate you again. Thanks so much for watching me. I know your days are busy, so are mine, but this is kind of a fun way to take a break. And that is that. I've got all the seasoning on. I'm going to put on it just a little bit more. Again, this is salt and pepper, that's all it is. So anyway, be right back with you. A word about cooking one of these great big briskets like this. A couple Fridays ago, I bought one similar to this. It was about maybe a half a pound more. I figured at 16 pounds, I'd be 16 hours of cooking. I prepared everything just like I showed you I did today. Trimmed it, seasoned it. About 10 o'clock at night, my coals were ready. I went ahead and put it on the grill, thinking that I would have about a 16-hour cook, hour per pound. That would bring me up to 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. So I kind of slept a little bit, dozed on and off, went out and checked the wood. Maybe every hour I put another log on there. My grill temp was running perfect, staying about 225 to 250 at the upper part of the pit where the thermometer is in the lid, because I know at the lid it's about if it's 250 there, it's 270 on the grill grate, side to side. It's very even now that the deflector plate's in there. It's about 11 degrees from the fire to the extremity on the other end, so I'm pretty confident what the temp is without even looking at it. At about 6:30 or so, the meat is already at about 156 to 158 and staying there, and that's kind of weird. I didn't expect it to be there till probably 2 in the afternoon or maybe a little after that, and it got to that 156 158 place and stayed there. That's called the stall. The stall occurs when the temperature in the grill area is the same as the meat, and that kind of levels out. One doesn't heat or cool the other, and it just kind of stalls and stays there. And the worst thing you can do is take it off during the stall. I didn't take it off, I waited it out. It went from 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30 to almost 10 o'clock, and then it started to rise up. When the internal temp of the meat gets to 165, I pull it off, I wrap it in butcher paper, maybe foil also, and then I kind of put it away from the warmest part of the grill, which on this grill now, this big pit, there's not like a cool place to put it anymore. So I kind of put it away from the fire towards the smokestack and let it sit there until it gets to 200 degrees, 201, something like that, and then I pull it off. When I pull it off, I wrap it in one more layer of foil. I put it in an ice chest, wrapped in towels, no ice in the ice chest of course, and I let it sit. And it can sit there for hours. And I think the longer you let it sit within reason, I think the better it's going to be. I had one, the one I took to work a couple years ago. That was really my first try at doing it in a pit barrel cooker, and it was probably about a 12-pound, 11 or 12-pound brisket. Wasn't very big. It's mostly flat, a little bit of point. Finished it at about 5 o'clock in the morning. Took it to work in the ice chest, and we didn't eat it till about 11 or 11:30, and it was still hot and it was delicious. So anyway, I just kind of thought I'd fill this space in with a little information about one of these big pits. Once you get the fire going right, it's just a matter of putting a log in occasionally. Right now it's almost to temp, and as soon as it is to temp, I'm going to put our brisket on there and let it roll. So thanks for hanging with me. I appreciate it very much. Okay folks, here we go. She's on the big pit. I've got the point end towards the fire. I've got the flat end towards the stack. There's a bit of smoke in there right now. I put a log in there to get our fire established a little better. But all in all, things are ready to go. It's a little after 7, which is a little later than I wanted to do it, but I'll keep you posted. We've got our ThermoWorks smoke right there. And meets at 47 degrees right now, and we'll keep an eye on that. We've got the inside one to monitor it, and I'll be talking to you soon. Actually, that's just fine. I want wood burning, I want flame, I don't want smoldering coals, so firebox is looking good. I'm going to leave it alone for a while. Next we're going to check on the meat. Well, it's about 10 after 1. This thing's kind of stuck about 180, which that's called a stall. That happens from time to time. I'm just going to leave it sit there probably another hour and a half or 2. What we want to accomplish is the jiggle. When this is done properly, it'll jiggle like jelly, or excuse me, it'll jiggle like jello. And you can see it's actually looking pretty good. I almost can't wait to cut into it, but I'm going to bring this to work because my friend Alex and a couple other guys thought they wanted some brisket. So later on I'm going to cut it up and make enchiladas out of it, but for now, just checking in, giving you a view of what we're cooking. And I'll be talking to you in a bit. Thank you so much. This now has the consistency of jello. Kind of hard to film in the smoke. I'm going to take it off and wrap it and let it sit for a while. That's the best way to get all the juices flowing back and forth and let it stabilize. It's been on the grill, on our smoker. It's been on our smoker now for about 13 hours. This really came out good. If you see the point stuff and you can see the juice in it, that's what we're always looking for when we make a brisket like this. I'm going to walk around the other side of the camera and give you a little taste test. When you go out to a barbecue restaurant, you probably don't get brisket like this. It just pulls apart. It's really moist and juicy. It's delicious. This is what making a brisket is all about. If you can cook this on one of these big pits, or if you want to cook one of these on one of these big pits, you really have to get USDA prime. Costco USDA prime is like $2.99 a pound. You go to Albertsons and buy choice or select, you're going to pay $2.99 a pound or above. So you might as well buy something like this you're going to be proud of. You'll be proud to serve your friends and so forth. I'm going to cut all this stuff up and make it into enchiladas, but in the meantime, I know we've spent pretty much of the day together. I really do appreciate it. You have no idea. This has been kind of a special thing for me. I love to cook. Turns out I love to be in front of a camera. I also love to speak, as you probably figured out that by now. But thanks so much for joining me, and I will talk to you soon.